Hello YouTube, this is Alan Jeremy from Deformation Incorporated, and today I'll be showing you how to model a simple crown such as the one you can see here. So first off, start by opening Blender, then go to the user preferences, and under the add-ons make sure that the add mesh extra objects add-on is enabled. Then save this as default, and we're ready to model our crown, I guess. So first of all, delete the default cube by pressing X and delete. Then Shift S to cursor to the center and add a mesh cylinder. And before you do anything, change the cap fill type from initially it's N-gon, change it to nothing, then scale the cylinder on the Z-axis by 0.5, then scale it down once again by 0.75, and scale it up until it's around the size of a crown. Press tab to go into edit mode, then Ctrl R to add a loop cut, and add a loop cut right at the center. Press the right mouse button to cancel any changes, and go into front view and delete the lower half of the cylinder. Press A to deselect everything and B to border select. Then select all the lower vertices and press X to delete, then delete the vertices. So now we're left to the upper half of the cylinder, and add a modifier to it by clicking on this wrench in this properties window and add modifier, then add a mirror modifier. So far you can see nothing, and this is because the mirror modifier is applied on the x-axis. The x-axis means that the mirror modifier affects the object on the x-axis. In other words, if I move this on the x-axis, then you can see a mirrored object, but we want this to be mirrored on the z-axis, so uncheck the x-axis because we do not want it to be mirrored on the x-axis. Then check the z-axis and turn clipping on. Clipping basically means making sure these vertices are glued together right at the center, because as you can see, when I press G now to grab, the vertex only moves on this center. If clipping is disabled, then the vertices move separately, and they can be separated. So clipping basically means stitching together and holding the center parts together basically. So with that said and done, press Ctrl R once again to add a loop cut around here, then add another loop cut next to that one, and press Ctrl tab or go here, select face, select mode, press Z to go into solid mode, and press Alt, then right click to select a loop. Go into top view to see what you're doing, then scale inwards like so. So now you can see we have the basic shape of our crown, but we need to tweak this a little bit more. So Ctrl R to add a loop cut here and scale it out so that it is a little bit more distinct when it's curving. like so. Then just grab this center edges and drag them down just to make sure they're attached. Now the next thing you want to do is to press tab to go into object mode, then press shift A, and now as you can see we have an extra option under the add mesh options, and add extra objects, gemstones, and click on gem. So we want these gems to be attached to these sides of the crown. So rotate this on the x-axis by 90, then on the z-axis by 90, and go into top view so you can see a little better, then scale it way down. Position it to whichever position you want it to be in, and now with the gem selected you want to add a modifier, and this is going to be an array modifier. Now how this modifier works is that it adds duplicates of the object that was selected to it adds duplicates based on a count, which is the number of duplicates it will add, and a relative offset, which is the distance between the duplicates. So this relative offset is in x, y, and z values, and as you can see this means that the offset is 1 on the x-axis and 0 on the y-axis and 0 on the z-axis. So the next thing we want to do is change this offset to around 2 so that we have more distance between them. Then change the count to around 10, and you can see now we have 10 duplicates. So the next thing you want to do is press A to deselect everything, and shift A, add a curve, and this is going to be a node circle, then add a circle, and with the gem selected add another modifier. This is going to be a curve modifier, and as you can see it's under the deform options, and this means that it will affect how objects here, or rather the object here, deforms based on the curve. So our curve is going to be this curve here, which you can see is a node circle, and with the gem selected change this object to the node circle, and now you can see that it deforms in a very weird way, I'd say. So the first thing you want to do is apply the array modifier, then change this to y so that the deformation occurs on the y-axis, and this will make it deform in a circular way. For example, now if we scale this and move this down, to around here, then we can monitor how we are distributing our gems. So the first thing you want to do is press tab to go into edit mode, then just rotate this on the x-axis by 90, I think. No, it's okay, it's not quite working well, but we can use this for now, and just make sure with the gem selected, since we want the gems to cover the whole crown, then we are going to increase the number of gems in such a way that they will cover the whole crown. So press Ctrl Z to go back till the time before we apply the array modifier. So now what you want to do is change this to Y and then move both of this down to around there, then scale this up, scale the circle up, then position the gems appropriately. So now we want to increase the count until we have the whole crown covered, and as you can see, it forms a nice circle around the crown, and now we have the whole crown covered at 19. Your value can be different, so don't stick to this. So now that we have it, we can apply the array modifier because we're done using it, and we can apply the curve modifier so that this change remains on the object. So now we can delete this circle and select the gem, which in this case is 19 gems. So press tab to go into edit mode, and then press D to separate, and separate by loose parts, which means that every part which is not attached can be separated, and you will see that in a second. So now you can see each and every gem is an individual object. So now we're going to go into top view, and we're going to rotate this. Oh, sorry. First of all, change the origin of all of this to geometry so that it deforms based on the geometrical origin. And I'm just going to pause this recording and change the geometry, the origin to geometry in all these gems. So that's done, and now we are going to rotate all of this on the x-axis, or is it the y-axis? Okay, no, rotate anyway. Going to top view and make sure you rotate all of this to fit into these positions. In other words, just rotate to position them appropriately, like so. Then do that with all the gems, and once again I'm going to pause and rotate all of them to face the correct direction. By the way, to rotate on the local axis, you press R to rotate. Then for example, if it's the x-axis, then you press X once, then twice, and that will allow you to rotate on the local on the local x-axis. Seems I just swallowed my words. So that's it. Okay, so this is the last one, and our x 90 then press R to rotate and G to grab, and make sure the tip of this gem, the lower part of the gem, is inside the crown, so because you don't want the gems taken outside on the inside of the crown. For example, you don't want this to happen because then it's going to look ugly, and realistically that will really hurt the wearer of the crown. So let me right click to cancel all transformations, and now as you can see, all the gems are positioned, and what is left to do is to add a solidify modifier to this crown, because it can't be paper thin, which is also unrealistic, so it has to have some substance, and this is going to be 0.05 for now, and I think that's okay. So now we have almost all our gems positioned correctly. Just make sure you have them positioned correctly. May take some time, but in the end it's a little bit worth it. Put this in. GYY. I'm just going to quickly move this. Press Control up arrow to bring this up, then T to get rid of that, and let me do this quickly. So GYY, move it, GYY, and GYY. Okay, that sounds weird, but GYY. Move it. Oh, just in case you don't know what I'm doing, I'm moving the gems on the local y-axis. GYY. That's why I'm pressing Y twice. GYY. Oh, I think that should be a code name for something. Anyway, make sure all the gems are positioned correctly. Press go into top view and Z to see if they are positioned correctly. So we can see some of them are not really positioned correctly, but that's going to be an easy thing to do when you're in top view. I don't really know why I didn't do this in the first place. So yeah, okay, so I think that's okay to me. So now press Control down arrow to bring up whatever was there, and then that's going to be the end of part 1 of this tutorial. So now we have our crown, and in part 2 I'll be showing you how to make it look more detailed and how to add the materials and render it. Goodbye and thank you for watching.